Frieren, Season 2, Episode 5. 3 spikes of barley. Very important. We can't give this up. Gotta hold our ground. Do I smell a side quest? You had to ask. Side quest activated. Ask and you shall receive. What is Boshaft? Is it your sled? The childhood sled that you loved? Is it a beer stein? Oh, it's alcohol. Damn, the best alcohol. I don't want to hear your excuses. It's because we didn't get to drink Boshaft. Frieren always feels like she's on the run. Here it is. Yeah, here it is. She's got so many ghosts everywhere. Did you ever find that pot of gold? In the past 80 years? Northern lands with a lot of drinking and a leprechaun. Surely this is a coincidence? Or I'm just imagining things. Even the bar name, 3 spikes of barley. Random excuse for me to talk about something else. If you're ever traveling alone in a foreign country and you're looking for nightlife, if you happen to feel a little bit intimidated by that prospect, one way to navigate that is to find an Irish pub, because you can almost guarantee there will be some, or else there's just no nightlife there at all probably. And ask the bartender or other patrons for advice on where to go. From that, you'll often get really good advice about what's actually fun, and often you'll just make friends there with people who are pre-gaming, and they'll just take you to the spots. This is my excuse to finally give that advice that I've been carrying in my soul all this time. She's not the same Frieren 80 years later, which means more than that sounds. Whoa! It's very timely. We gotta get Boshaft for Hyder. Okay, you got my attention. What was your name again? Bass? Gross. Haas? Foss. Frieren fails to flee again. This looks safe. It's a dwarf. Okay, makes sense. And then, coincidentally, I built a mine. The more for less. Wow. I wonder what it's actually going to be. Himmel also not on board. Yeah, I don't really see Himmel doing all that for alcohol. By what metrics, I wonder? No hangover. Frieren, you must know something. Yeah, you gotta study the original language. This is very old school. It's like philosophy. Imagine the anticipation and also the fear. The hardest distance is that final mile, when you know you're like right at the precipice of the thing that will define the entire story of what you've done and all you've sacrificed. Maybe you need to be drunk. We don't need any money. I love how Frieren gave him the right answer there. Yeah. Do you know how much money we passed up in that crystal cave? This is an odd one because it doesn't really fall into the category of we have an obligation to help people whose paths we cross. Like, Himmel passed on this already, right? Obviously, I love the idea that also happens to be a My Hero idea of it's perhaps a mistake to think about it in terms of the scale of grandeur, and it's a more enduring, overall, more tapped-in strategy to focus on the good, and that will be true whether or not it's grand in scale and people will remember your name, etc. So Himmel and crew and Frieren and crew would be remiss to pass up some minor task that would greatly help one person because they're super focused on the Demon Lord thing. But this is perhaps not that, where it's like clear in what way it is. That said, I'm unwilling to write this off as being nothing, because there's something interesting here. As explorers, people exploring life and exploring passions and pursuit. I mean, this guy he has made a pursuit, and this does seem like a unique thing. There's gonna be something here, right? There's gonna be something to learn or to experience. Like, over time, I think I get less and less willing to write things off as unimportant, if that makes sense. If it exists, if there's some attention to it, there's probably something really important there. Whether or not that is important to oneself, relevant to one's focus and pursuits and gifts, etc., is a different story. But to say it doesn't matter or it's stupid, that borders on cynicism, which is somehow in the ballpark of escapism or detachment, disengagement, to use a word I've been seeing a lot recently. You know, like, oh, this is stupid, it doesn't matter. What is the value of a human dream? That's a fair answer. Why do you hate money? They don't know how much work it's gonna take. They're not thinking about the work. Here they are doing the work. We get a work montage this time instead of a walk montage, which includes drinking, heavy drinking. That was fast. That was barely a montage. It was like 5 seconds. You've tasted it. As we know, elves never lie. I can't think of a single lying elf in this entire show. Also, like, I don't know, it's alcohol. I know it's gonna have a metaphor, but taste is never really the thing with alcohol anyway. That's later. That's like deep in the stages of addiction. Like how I love the taste of black coffee. That's just not natural or healthy or holy. But, you know, there's reasons why you drink alcohol and coffee. Good question. Not all about you, Milliard. Isn't that sort of a vain answer? It's a tough one, but begs a lot of questions. Oh, you lied. Oh, you just wanted to create a thing for people to do so they find meaning in their lives? That's weird. I don't like that. Some people just want to see the world burn. That was evil, Milliard. That's initially why she wanted to run away and why she didn't want to accept it. Sort of dark, Milliard. What was she searching for? Maybe I'm misreading it, or maybe there's more to be uncovered, but at this point, it almost seems like petty revenge based on personal dissatisfaction with life. Speaking of cynicism, it's kind of nihilistic. At first glance, I'm sure there's more when we actually uncover the alcohol. Also, if Frieren was harboring this knowledge, she maybe could have told Foss sooner, but I think there's probably a bigger statement going to be made here about what purpose actually is, what meaning actually is. Let's see. Curb your enthusiasm. Also, imagine being Frieren and like having these dots connected for you after hundreds of years. You know, like, oh, that was the monument she was talking about. He may also really like it, no matter what it tastes like. It also isn't the same cheap liquor they served at that wedding or whatever. He might love it. Or he might hate the taste and love it anyway. Does a fish like water? There's a positive way to look at this. There it is. He's a good man. That bad, huh? It's not even just like not great, it's also the worst. But I'm under 18. This is underage drinking in anime, and I won't stand for it. This is where I draw the line. Everything else okay. But the age laws are very important for fictional characters. I'm afraid I can no longer in good conscience continue the show, Frieren Beyond Journey's End. You can still sell it. There you go. Or give it away for free. Spread the virus. Spread this disease. People won't hate it though. They're just gonna get drunk and then they'll love it. This is weird. I feel conflicted about this because it also sort of makes her right, which I don't like. Well, I guess it depends. It's a tough one. Tough. Looking at the past conversation with Miluda, whatever her name is, my lady, it seems less likely that it's some intended charitable act of like, I'll help people find their purpose, even if it's kind of a purpose built on a lie. It's better than being me, being nothing, and more likely that it's some sort of bitterness about the past that's leading here, that she has sort of a negative outlook on life and endeavor as a whole, and so this was sort of a way of lashing out or striking out. I think one of the key elements in there is the way she phrases it. How would you feel if your whole life was spent looking for garbage? There's a strong judgment there, and the perspective could use some fine-tuning, which I think is sort of what comes to bear in the present moment with Foss. I'm so convinced at this point that there's always a reading of whatever it is that is simultaneously true or non-avoidant of the truth, and also good or hopeful or something, or positively oriented. It's not that it's impossible, it's just that it's really difficult, but that's okay. It just takes work, that's fine. Positivity gets a very bad rap because often it's bundled with inaccuracy or fantastical thinking, but it doesn't have to be the case. When you're doing it right, it's both very high-reaching and hopeful without any sort of willful delusion. And we know that space because it's resonant. We all are able to attune to that frequency, which is typically why we don't like being pandered to. We don't like sentimental fluff. We want the acknowledgement of the terrible things and the pain we see with our eyes, but then also from there to know what to do with that, how to reach forward with it. What's the best thing we can possibly do given the reality of the world in our lives? I think in terms of her question about the struggle, it is a cold fact of life that not everyone will succeed in their chosen endeavor or perhaps in any endeavor, but that is okay, and maybe there's a certain vanity in that in the first place. Matrix, where we're trying to gain some sort of non-human thing by material accomplishment that is out of our control, trying to will the universe into something that it just might not be. In that light, maybe another more enduring way to judge human action is by what is closest to us on that scale of agency, which is our lives, our minds, our individual choices. And that is perhaps less outcome determined and more process determined, as they say. Like, you did what you felt was right, and you used your resources and what you have and your gifts in the endeavoring of the thing. If you were absolutely the best you could have possibly been in a situation with no excuses, and the situation got away from you, though it hurts, I think time has a way of bearing that out so that you reflect on it positively when you think back on yourself and your deeds. And then, just to blow this thing wide open, we add in time and the multi-dimensionalness to life, where this is just one slice of your life. You actually can't see all the branching paths yet. You only can make sense of the path you've already walked. But so many times right around the corner, there is something else that occurs, that happens, that you do, that was built on the road you walked, that puts the entire thing in a brand new context. Though it's a common perspective, failing this thing and being a failure are entirely different considerations. That said, I still think Frieren should have been honest. Give him all the information to work with so he can still choose to pursue this if he chooses, but good on him for making so much of it. Episode 33, Logistics in the Northern Plateau. This is what we bought with all that gold? Did we not get gold because it was a scam alcohol? Why? What happened to the money? Oh, here we go. Here's the walking montage. No way we were missing this. I think we're 5 for 5 on the season now. Uh-oh. Sounds like a side quest being activated. Yeah, right. Frieren never makes waves. Thank God we got that license exam. Just some non-first class mage. Never you mind. Oh God, more people we have to greet. Oh no, she's wanted. Oh no, what was the interest on that? I mean, 80 years. She ran up her credit card bill and bounced. And now it's that time. I bet he's a demon. Are you a demon? He looks like a demon. I'm getting demon vibes. Wait, so why are we eating stale bread? And she tipped him. Sort of a flex there. Imagine, like, tipping the credit card company. That day, Frieren learned about the magic of compound interest. The most dangerous magic of all. Okay, bye. We do have information that could lead to a lot of money. What's the price? If there's no price, then it might be personal. Or this might actually be the true end game. There's a crystal mine. It's an entire mine of priceless crystals. I'll bet just offhand, she just has something worth this money in her trunk that she would never think to part with. How many priceless artifacts does she have, She also could offer services worth this. I mean, what's worth this much to you? What do you need? You need your commerce back? Get to work. This episode's very mine heavy. What if I just build the whole mine for you with magic, like in a day? So, you were legendary for how much debt you have racked up. You guys could just like take a rest. I'll do this. I'll do the mine stuff. Why is it so epic for no reason? What is going on? This is amazing. What? This is incredible. Okay, I finished the mine. The whole mine is completed. It's now done. I like how this is such a weird, random time to flex. But it makes sense. And the kids aren't around. There's no exercises to give them to help them grow. Just gotta do this mine. Balance is their symbol. And you came in and sort of nickeling and diming. There is something really interesting here. One of my favorite concepts of like, what is the point? What matters? I think there's so many beautiful things to be found in thinking about things in terms of the order. It has such a dispelling effect on some of the confusions of life. So as I've said a million times, money isn't really a thing, it's value. Money is just a really, really great tool for providing liquidity of value because not everyone wants perfectly exchangeable things at exactly the same moments. But then we get this so wrong and we focus on the finger, which is the money, as opposed to the moon the finger is pointing to, which is the value. And now that that's divorced, there are a ton of valueless hacks to accumulate money. Clever accounting, nickel and diming, hidden clauses, cheating the customer, vaporware, etc., etc. But that ultimately is probably a destructive force. I think this is a more generalized version of Goodhart's law, where when people think the measure is the goal, it stops being a good measure. Seeking money for money erodes value. But it's so many other things, like in social media, where the point is retention. Retention for retention's sake is just vapid and empty and soul crushing. For that matter, a lot of movies coming out today are about retention because of streaming services. On a spiritual level, perhaps, it's happiness as the goal, where happiness is the byproduct. It is a secondary consequence of doing things correctly. It can't be the goal in itself, which just explains so much of people's self-destructive behavior and relationship fallout, etc., etc. And it does decay. It takes more work to keep that framework in mind and to focus on the highest thing and to always keep pushing it and looking for it, because it's always just out of reach. It's never perfectly tangible. But once you see it, I think there's a responsibility to pursue that in as many ways as are personally relevant.
でもわざわざ鉱山まで訪ねに来るってことは何か考えがあってのことかな。
He's using the debt to create leverage. Wouldn't you like to get out of this mine?
あんな硬いパンは食べたことがないって仲間も嘆いていたよ。
And they'll eat anything.
我々は魔族との戦いで武装大将と軍の
To his
3割
credit, to give him some faith, he's probably terrified and desperate. Okay, so it's not actually money.
北部高原の民をお救いください。
I mean, you could have just asked, honestly. I don't appreciate the coercion.
我々を助ければ
I would have done it for soft bread.
したたかなところはノルム教と変わらないね。ま
It's
さかこれだから
not
商人は
a great look, but it's
分かったよ。
not as bad as it could have been, given the setup for this.
これからは柔らかいパンが食べられ
Man,
る。
Frieren just handled this.
どういうことなの？
Do you have any idea how much I had to do for that soft bread? Briefly went to jail for a few minutes, cast my universe domain expansion spell, pointed to some silver. It's a rough one. Interesting episode considering these two things back to back, because there's a lot of manipulation happening. Or there's a lot of like good things come out of bad things. I may be horribly misunderstanding, but I don't really like what I saw of Milliard, and I don't like the fact that we were blackmailed here. Feels like he sort of hacked his way into a temporary solution there, when really, to get to that same solution, all he needed to have done was to ask and not to deceive. With Frieren feeling more and more saint-like as she continues to navigate all these pitfalls with a smile, seeming happier than ever.